Hi guys, my name is Bongani Mahlangu. In today's video, I want us to discuss if function. Okay. So we are discussing if function. So this video is good for a student or a learner. It's good for a student who is at college doing computer practice. Because most of the KCC function is used in computer practice. And for those who are doing end-user computing and basic computer studies, so this video is meant for you. And the questions like this, the exams for the questions like this are found in those subjects. Okay. What is if function? If function is the fundamental logical function in a spreadsheet and the programming language that performs a logical test, and it returns one value if the test is true. For example, if you say when the average is 50, the value should say pass. It means that in the cell where there are 50s, it will correspond and say pass. And it returns one value if the test is true, and the difference value if the value is not true. So again, it will say fail for the values that are not true. Okay. Dichotomous if function. A dichotomous function in Excel most often refers to if function, if then else statement that handle a dichotomous or a binary variable which has only two possible outcomes. Example of the variables that has only two possible outcomes could be a yes or no, true or false, pass or fail. So pass or fail, true or false, yes or no can be used using if function to have returned the values like that. Now, when you are busy doing this function, you must know that the computers are not the same. Some computers are using semicolons, some computers are using a comma. So to insert a formula on the cells where you want an answer. Following are the components of the if function formula. So for you to do a if function, you must have, you will use equals to, you will use the word if, you will use greater than. If the if statement, it wants you to use greater than. You will also use less than if the if statement wants to use the less than. For this practice, we won't use or, but you can use or if you want to. And then the bracket you will use, and the closing bracket, the opening bracket and the closing bracket. Now, the comma and the semicolon, it will depend to the computer. Some computers are using semicolons, some computers are using comma. For this class or this part of a video, we'll use a multiplication, and we'll use the addition sign, and we'll use a subtraction sign and a division sign. If function, there are many ways and there are many use of if function. So therefore, we can use if function for many different things. I've made an example to say that to determine if the student has passed or failed, you can use if function in Excel or a spreadsheet using the formula. And in the formula, you'll be putting some of these components depending on the outcome that you want. There are many ways and there are many use of if function. Example in the column you want to determine if the student has passed or if the student has failed, you can use if function to do that by just putting the formula. Looking at this formula, this part of the formula, this part, this one, this part. Okay. This part is a statement. So this is a cell number. This one is a cell number. So when I read this statement, it says if E5 is greater or equals to. So this is greater, this is equals to. So if I read it, it says this if statement. If E5 is greater or equals to 50, the answer should be the first one, the first statement, this one, is the answer that we want if the value is true. So if E5 is 50, the answer should be pass. And then the last one, this part of the statement. So the semicolon is dividing the options. So this semicolon, it gives us the first option, of which is the value is true. And then after this semicolon, we get the last option, of which if the value is not true. Okay. So if the value is not true, the fail should appear. If the value is true, the pass must appear. Okay. So for the example, the column you want to determine the student has passed, if the student has failed, you can use the function to do that by just putting the formula. Okay, by just putting what? The formula. By just putting the formula, you can tell that the value is true. So this one, I've said it, it's a if statement. This one, it's a first answer, or the positive answer, or if the value is true. It's what we want. If the value is greater than 50, and then the answer that will appear in the cell that we are formulating should say pass. And in the cell that we are formulating, if the value of E5 is less than 50, it should say fail. You can use the formula function. So this is called a formula function, this dialog box. And I would encourage people to use the formula function. I do encourage students to use a formula function, because when you are using a formula function, you won't worry about checking the computer, whether your computer is using colons or semicolons. What you will do, you will just put this if statement, okay, in the logical test. So you will put your if function, your if statement here. So if, for example, the if function that you want to put, it says, for example, maybe it's if open bracket E5 it's greater or equals to 50. You will just write that here. You will just type it here, the logical test. And then after typing the logical test, you just type pass here, where it says the value is true. And then you just type fail here, where it says value is false. And then you click OK, and then after clicking OK, you're done. So you didn't put any bracket. The function argument box will do it for you. So you can use this formula function, logical test. In a logical test, you put the if statement. The outcome that you want, if the value is true, you put it here. The outcome that you want, if the value is not true, you put it here. In the example of pass or fail, this is a cell number E5, And then this statement says if the value is greater or equals to, and then this is 50%. So this, you put it on the logical text in the function box, and then on the value, if the value is true, you put pass, and on the, if the value is false, the field, you put fail. What if you want options that are more than 2? Remember, as far as we were discussing here, we were speaking about pass or fail, wrong or right, left or right, yes or no. What if maybe you want the options, maybe 3 options? What if you want 3 options? What if you want 4 options? What if you want 10 options? What if you want 20 options? What if you want many options? So if, for example, let's say maybe you want the options of the student marks, a student who got 40%, you wanted to get a simple E. The student who got 50, you want them to get a simple D. The student who got 60, you want them to get a simple C. A student who got 70, you want them to get a simple E. And the student who got 80, you want them to get a simple C. So this means that the options are more than 2, unlike pass or fail or yes or no situation. In case like this, you will then need to firstly arrange the option from the lowest to the highest. Then you will write down that 40, if it's a lower one, you write 40 equals to, you write them in the side, in the paper or in the scribbler. You write those. You rearrange them from 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 to 80 if the options are the ones that we were speaking about of the symbols. It depends. Okay. Then you will take the first 2 options and you put them on the formula function as a dichotomous. Then between the first and equals to here, you see here, you then add going up. You then add going up the next statement, because now, for example, the first statement, it says it's greater than 40, must be E. Okay, and then the next statement will say if the greater than 50, you put that one here, you type if open bracket J4 is greater or equals to 40, semicolon, the answer should be D. Then you type D here, and then you go up like that. So the lowest option is here, the second lowest option is here, and this is a if statement. So if you want to add the second option or the third option, you will then add this one. This is a third option that you want to add. You add like this. And going forward, it means here again, just here, you add the 60 option, the if statement, and the outcome for the 60 option. And if you want to add, you come here again, you add. But you also count the if wait. So there is 1, 2 if wait. So if there are 2 if wait, it means you close your bracket twice. So here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 options, and then it means you have 2 if. So this is the first if, the second if, and it's a third if. The closing bracket, they must be 4. They must be 3 because you've got 3 if. This one here, this one here, this one here. Okay, you can use a function to do calculation as well. Thanks guys, let's do the practical part of this video. Okay. So for me to do a practical part of the video, I'll create a new Excel. Okay, sure. I'll create a new Excel document, and then I open the Excel document that I've created. To create, I right click, I go to new, I choose. So here I will type the name of the students. Here I will type marks for test 1. Here I will type marks for test 2. Here I will type the average. Okay. And then let me just shade this column heading. Let's say my student is Vongani, my other student is Sophie, and the other student is AP, another student is Clive, the other student is Brooke, the other student is Sizwe, other student is Nketi, other student is Madlala, other student is Ndwandwa. Okay, those are the names of my students. Bongani for the test 1, let's say you got 30, for the test 2, got 0. And then Sophie for test 1, let's say you got 89, for the test 2, let's say you got 79. And then Happy for test 1, let's say Happy got 16, and then for the test 2 got 45. Let's say this one for test 1, they've got 78, and then Clive for test 2 got 90. And then Brooke got 100 for the test 1, and he got another 100 for test 2. Okay, let's say he got 98 for test 2. And then let's say maybe Caesar got a 37 for test 1, and it got 58 for test 2. Nketi got a 67 for test 1. Let's say maybe they've got a 46, or let's say 49. 49 for test 2. Okay, let's say this one got a 55 and 65. Okay, then this one got 80 and then 81, 71. Let's say they got 71. So these are the marks. So for me to calculate average, I'll say equals to, and then I type the weight average, and then I open the bracket, I highlight test 1 and test 2, I close the bracket, and then I say enter. So the average for Vongani is 50, the average for Sophie, I autofill. And then when I autofill, it gives me the average of these students of mine. Okay. Now, let's use if function to determine pass or fail. So to use if function to determine pass or fail, we'll come to function box here, and then we choose if, we say okay. So, and then here we select the first average, we put greater than, we put equals to, we put 50. And then after putting 50 here underneath, we say pass, underneath pass, we say fail. Boom, done. And then we say okay. So the first person got 15, we autofill. After autofilling, now we've got the options. The first person says fail because the first person got less than 50. And the second person, it says pass because they got 84, which is above 50. The third person, it's 84 is pass, 99 is pass, 47.5 is fail. Okay, 58 is pass, 75 it's fail. So that's how if function work. Okay. Now the second part, it was saying, what if we want to put more than two options, because these options is pass or fail. Let's say maybe you want a person that got 80 to have symbol a person that got 70, you want them to have a symbol B, and you want a person that got a 60 and above to have symbol C, and you want people who've got 50 and above to have a symbol D. And let's say maybe you want to end at 40. A person that got 40, you want them to get symbol E. You can use if function to do that. You will first, according to the notes that we treated, use dichotomy situation. Let's say the lowest number here is 40, so you can use if function to say the average is greater or equals to 40. So the person that is above 40 must get an E. So you put the E here, and then the person that got less than 40, you can leave it blank, but I'll write fail. I want a person that got less than 40 to say fail, and then the above 40 to write E, the above 50 to write D and C. So after doing that, you say okay, and then you come here and double click. Okay, here between equals to, let me make it bigger. Let me make it bigger so that we can see. Okay. So here, between if and equals to, we will put the option of D. Okay. Let me just copy this one so that they can be maybe. Let me put them now where you can see them here. So that they can be just maybe. So I've said you start with the smallest one, you go upwards. You start with the smallest one. The smallest one is 40. Now you add in the formula between if and the first if and equals to. So you will type if, and then the second one after 40 is 50. So you'll say if open bracket, you select the average, you say greater equals to, the next one is 50. So you'll say 50. And then after saying 50, you put a semicolon or a comma, depending on your computer, you inverted comma, and you want it to be D. And then you close inverted comma, you put a semicolon again. And then you say enter. Okay, we forgot to put a second bracket. So we must put a second bracket here. Remember, you count the if. If you've got 1, 2 ifs, it means the last bracket they must be 2. So you say enter, and then we go up again to 60. So here on 60, between equals to and the first if, you type if. You open bracket, you select the first average, you say greater equals to, and then you say 60. You put a semicolon, inverted comma, you want it to say C. You close the inverted comma, you close the semicolon. Don't forget now to put the third bracket, because we've got 3 ifs. Now we go to 70. You double click here between the first if and the equals to. You will then put now 70. So you say if open bracket the first greater equals to 70. Okay, and after that it's a semicolon, inverted comma, you want it to say B, close semicolon, close, and then don't forget to put the bracket there, and then you say enter. And then the last one is A. You come here, you double click between if and equals to, you type if, you open the bracket, you select the first average, you say greater or equals to 80, because the coming option is 80, and then semicolon, open, and then you write A. Okay, you close the bracket and then you put another semicolon, and then you say enter. We forgot again to put the bracket. Okay, we put the bracket and then you autofill. So after autofilling, this one it's above 70, it's a B. This one is a 60, it's a C. This one is 58, it's a D. This one is 47, it's a E. This one is 99, it's a A. This one is 84, it's a A. This one is less than 40, it's a fail. And this one is 84, it's a A. And this one is less than 40, it's a fail. So that's all I have for today on part 1. Remember, on part 2, we take a question from the question paper. Thank you for watching. If function for 2 options, we'll also do, okay, let's say this is part 1A. We'll do the part 1B where we use calculators. We calculate on the if function. Or let us just do that. Let us just do that. Okay, let us just do that. So this was the example on the example. It was examples on the student marks if function, and we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. You can do 3 options, you can do 2 options and all that. Okay, we are changing the game now. These are no longer students. Now we are saying these are salespeople. These are salespeople. These are people who are making money. Okay, let's say this is on January, and then here it's Feb. Okay, here it's Feb. Let's say Bongani did 1,000 rand on January, and Bongani did 1,200 on February, and then Sophie did 500 January, and Sophie did 300 rand February, and then Happy made 3,000 January, and Happy maybe made 4,000 February, and then Clive, maybe let's say Clive made 40 rand January, and Clive made 1,500 February, and Brooke made 300 January, and Brooke also made 150 February, and Sizwe, let's say Sizwe made 3,000 January, and Sizwe made 1,400 February, and Nketi made 4,000 January, and made 7,800 February. Okay, Madlala, let's say Madlala made 60 rand or 600 rand January, and make 800 rand February. Okay, and then let's say Ndwandwa made 2,300 January, and make 50 rand February. Now we want to calculate the average amount that they've made. So let's calculate average. So to calculate average, we'll say equals to, and then we put the weight average here, and then we take this one, we close bracket, we say enter. Okay, so this is the average that they've made. Now let's say maybe you want to give them a bonus based on the average that they've made. You are saying that a person who've made 1,500 will get the average. So here you write bonus yes / no, to say that you give them average or not. Okay. So here on average, yes or no, you can use if function taxonomy to do that. If, and then you say okay, and then you say if average is greater or equals to 1,500 rand, a person will get a bonus. We will see tweet yes, a person who does not get a bonus will see it with a no, and then you say okay. When you say okay, you autofill. After autofilling, you can see now this one didn't get 1,500. They got 1,100. So there is no. This one got 1,000. It got 400. It's a no. 3,500. Yes. 770. No. 200. No. 2,000. Yes. 5,000. Yes. 700. No. 1,000. No. Now we want to give them the commission. Let's say maybe a person that got a yes must get a commission of 10%. Okay, so we'll say commission 10%. Okay, so we can use again if function to do that. To say if, and then we say okay. So we say if the average is greater or equals to 1,500, if the value is true, it must give the commissions. Therefore, it equals to the average multiplied by 10%. Okay. And then if the value is not true, must give us a 0. Okay, you say okay, so you then autofill. So for those who got the average, like this one has a yes, and this is their amount. Okay, thank you guys for watching. This was the if function part 1, and then on the part 2, please look for part 2. We'll post part 2 as well. On the part 2, we will also treat the question from the question paper. We'll just pick any question paper with the if function, and then we treat the question paper with the if function. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.